It's funny because you don't want to feel like you're some kind of a narcissist where you're putting yourself too much into your work. But as we were watching it, and like my family has seen some cuts, they're like, girl, there's a lot of you in there.
What is it that you two do?
We're software engineers. Administer single dose, no casualties.
You think if the company hadn't matched you, you'd be compatible?
You're sitting underneath a shelter I made. I made this fire. I got you this fish.
Shelter, food, fire, water.
No.
Hello everyone from Entertainment Affair. Today we're here with the writer of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Francesca Sloane. Can you talk to us a little bit about what to expect from Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith is actually something that you won't expect, which is sort of what is fun about it. We have a lot of the things from the movie in terms of people who love action and sex and, foot chases and explosions and all of that. But if you're also looking for something with a lot of depth and humanity and really leaning into some rich character moments and a real emotional story, we also have that too.
And we know that this movie is inspired by is inspired by the movie from 2005, 2005. I don't know what we call it.
Yeah.
What was your process for reinventing this relationship and also the missions for these people?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to, show these two people kind of connect in the first place and have a relationship turn into something that starts off as a professional cover and then becomes something really deep and real between the two of them. And what does that look like when you fall in love? What does vulnerability look like when you actually get to know someone? How do you show that in a way that feels like real time that's also still exciting? But then how do you make that very specific and fun by having it hand in hand with spy missions? So, every episode is a different mission, and each of the missions kind of speak directly to the relationship milestone. And so they're sort of in tandem with each other.
Who do you relate with the most?
I think, she's a very complex gal, but so it's maybe not even great to say this, but I think, unfortunately, I relate a lot to Jane. I didn't want to feel like that. Yeah, I didn't. It's funny because you don't want to feel like you're some kind of a narcissist where you're putting yourself too much into your work. But as we were watching it, and like my family has seen some cuts, they're like, girl, there's a lot of you in there. She initially starts off with a lot of walls and kind of having a fear of being vulnerable. But it all comes from the fact that she's actually deeply sensitive and actually cares quite a bit. That's something that I can definitely relate to. She's a very anxious person. I'm riddled with anxiety. I think a lot of us can be riddled with anxiety. I think what's so great, though, about Jane is that many people will be able to relate to her as well.
My last question is what was more difficult in the process of creating this series, either working on the missions or exploring the relationship?
For me, human moments and relationships and getting into the mud in terms of who people are is I could do it in my sleep, that's my nitty gritty. I think for me, really kind of putting my mind in terms of genre and action and doing all of that was a little bit, less organic to me, but also so much fun. And getting to be a 14-year-old with a big imagination and this large scope show and traveling all over the world and getting to have skiing and explosions and doing all of that stuff ended up actually being such a blast. And there's a ton of that too. So I learned a lot.
I feel like the audience needs to prepare not only for this incredible relationship, but also the visuals, but also the soundtrack. I'm so excited.
Oh, that makes me happy. Donald and I would send each other songs back and forth, almost like we were John and Jane, So we've been putting together songs with each other for a very long time for this show.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am excited for the audience to watch Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is premiering on February 2nd exclusively on Amazon Prime. Thank you so much.
Thank you.